have a we do have a very busy and packed agenda today, so we'll go ahead and get started on time this morning. I do want to start off by apologizing to all of you. Unfortunately, today we do not have an interpreter for this meeting. They canceled our request last minute due to staffing shortages that they have. So they were very apologetic, and I apologize for anyone that was relying on that service today. Okay, so we can go ahead and skip this slide since we don't have the interpreters today. If you have any technical difficulties during the meeting today, related to anything with your Zoom or seeing the slides, please reach out to Angelina Callis and she can assist you with that. Okay, welcome everyone. I believe Myra is on to do roll call. Okay, she may not be. I will go ahead and Dr. Rob, are you able to do roll call for this meeting?
Sure.
Okay.
All right. So hi, how's everybody doing? I'm glad to see everybody's faces. So let's do a quick roll call. I don't have everybody's names, but let's see who's all here. We'll just start with, I'm going to tell you this right now. I am here in Tennessee for an Ironman. So I'm not on my laptop. I am on my, what's it called? On my iPad. So I'm trying to look at it to see. So everybody wish me luck. I'll be representing Addict to Athlete and talking about athletes in recovery. So that'll be great and super fun. So can we just get, if you are part of the BHAAC, can you just, let's put your hands up so I can kind of see who's here and see if I'm able to see it that way. Okay. So I see, so Tosh Conker is here.
Present.
Raquel Garcia.
Present.
Caroline Hall.
Present.
And
I see Renee Anderson.
Hold the audio now unmuted.
I'm here.
And those are all the hands I have up.
Okay. Raina's here. Maria's here. Kelly's here.
Thank you, Dr. Rob. And I will make note of anyone else that jumps on during the meeting so we have full attendance documented for the meeting. And then we can go to the next slide, please. So a couple of housekeeping items to start with. All council members are able to unmute. Please raise your hand to be acknowledged. Prior to speaking, please identify yourself. Chat feature is open for all attendees. However, substantiated comments and questions may not be addressed in real time. The council will determine how to address any public comments or questions that we do not get to today at the end of the meeting. Recording is in progress for note-taking purposes and for any council members not in attendance. All future meetings, dates, agendas, and minutes will be posted to the BHA website. Any questions or comments regarding the council or BHA can be submitted via Contact Us section of the BHA website. Next slide, please. The group agreements for BHAAC are to listen and engage respectfully. Note that differences of opinion are natural and useful in discussion. Having an open mind and being curious and bold is productive to all discussions. Everyone has equal voice and valuable contribution. Take space, make space. Keep to time and agenda, start and end meetings on time, and no acronyms, please. Okay, for our agenda today, we are currently doing the call to order. Next, we will vote on a temporary chair for the day. Then we will have August meeting minute approval, a grounding activity to get us all in a good space for today's meeting, BHA updates, BHAAC review updates and overview, a break from 10:30 to 10:45. After the break, we'll come back and check in. And then at 11, we'll have statutory requirements around the BHA system-wide grievance. At 11:20, we'll have the commissioner's briefing, followed by BHAAC request for information, and then public comment. I did want to start today off a little bit by letting you know that this agenda I know looks a little bit different than what you all are used to. And I have had the opportunity to speak with many of you over the last week and just want to really acknowledge how much change this group has been through. You started under Dr. Medlock as your commissioner. Currently, we have interim Commissioner Barnes, and we know that sometime in the future, we will have a new commissioner to work under. And additionally, recognizing that you all started with working with Renee as your BHA lead, you transitioned to Yumiko, and then you transitioned to Angelina, and now I am stepping in as your BHA lead. And as I've explained to many of you, I'm really wrapping my arms around everything that is this council. And so today is really reminding us all of the purpose of BHAAC, the role of the council and the role of the BHA, and how we work together collaboratively and in transparent communication. Okay, next slide, please. We will go ahead and vote for the chair of the day at this time. So anyone that would like to volunteer to be our chair, please use the hand raise to indicate that you would like to volunteer to chair today's meeting. I see Dr. Rob. Just want to make sure that no one else has their hand up before we move forward with voting. Okay, everyone in favor of voting Dr. Rob for your temporary chair for the day, please use your hand raising feature to indicate your vote.
Hold the audio now.
I'm sorry, how are we supposed to vote? Just by raising hand or not raising hand?
Yes, raise your hand to vote
Okay.
for Dr. Rob.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. Thanks for asking. Okay, it looks like majority vote for Dr. Rob. So Dr. Rob, I will pass it over to you as our chair for the day.
Okay, so the next thing well, thank you all this is just temporary for today, it's just helping out. Thank you all for your votes and your trust to lead this meeting. So we need to review and approve the minutes for August. Can I get a vote to approve the minutes? Hopefully everybody reviewed them on the email that came out.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Thank you, Carolyn.
This is Raina, I'll second that.
Thank you, Raina. Okay, so then I motion the minutes are approved.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rob. Okay, I would like to introduce you all to a special guest that we have today. Recognizing that this group has been through a lot. A lot. Transition is hard, change is hard, and we really want to be able to open ourselves up to be in a really good space today to have some great discussion and take information in. And so I have invited Kelly Reedford to join us. She is the Trauma Informed System of Care Manager at the BHA, and she is going to lead us today in a grounding activity. Welcome, Kelly, and thank you for being here with us.
Good morning, Megan. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone else for allowing me to just spend the next 15 minutes in guiding you all in a grounding activity. As Megan said, I'm Kelly Reedford, Trauma Informed Care Program Manager for the BHA. My pronouns are she, her. So I have 2 slides just for information so you can all be aware of my purpose for today. We're going to do a grounding activity and just set our intentions. The hope is that we probably have all come here today with other things. You know, we have lives outside of work. And I would say the last week, the last month, the last year has probably brought challenges to everybody. But our hope is really to be able to focus and thinking about compartmentalizing our time for this meeting. So if we can ground and focus so that we can be present and make informed decisions in this meeting, that's our purpose today. Next slide, please. Okay, so why grounding? What is grounding? Grounding is a process to help us control our thoughts and our body reactions by turning our attention away from what may be distracting us, what may be worrying us, and focusing just on the present moment. This is not something we want to permanently distract ourselves from everything in the world, but really our purpose is to focus right now on being present and being able to be grounded in the moment for this meeting. I want you to think of it really as a state of less, not more. I think it's easy to think about, oh, I need my coffee and I need my, I need to open my blinds and I need to do whatever it is in the morning to get grounded and ready for work. But right now, for our purposes, let's think about this as a state of less, of not of more, but of less. I think it's really helpful, and I think information is power. So I just want you to, and I probably have oversimplified this to a great degree. I am not a brain scientist. I'm not a neurologist. So for anybody here who is a brain specialist in the group, and certainly there are people here that know more about this than I do, I apologize. But for simplicity's sake and for the purposes of this exercise, I just want you to think about the physical structure of your brain. And you could just do that by making a fist. And if you look at your fist, this is the front part of your brain. So your knuckle. And if you think about the very tip of your first finger, that is the area of the brain that houses the amygdala. And the amygdala really is responsible for emotional reactions, for turning those on and off. And when the amygdala is on fire, it's very difficult for the frontal lobe, this knuckle part of your brain here, to be online. And we really need that front part of our brain to be online in order to be able to focus, to be grounded, to make informed decisions. So grounding is a way to sort of short circuit that fingertip area of your brain, the amygdala, the emotional part, and bring the frontal lobe online. So, for the next hour and a half, 2 hours, so that we can focus our attention. So that's very oversimplified, but there are activities that you can do to help bring the frontal lobe online and make the amygdala a little less reactive and firing. So we're going to do that. Next slide, please. All right. Just the goals for the exercise that we're going to do. We're going to do some breath work. We're going to do a focusing activity. We're going to do a container exercise. And as we get to each section, I'll explain what these things are. We're going to set an intention for the day. And then you're going to think about your own voice and your mantra for today's purpose. So those are the only slides I have. I'm going to guide you in this exercise. Before we start, I want to just remind everybody that I think this is really powerful. Our natural state is actually our own full potential. There are a lot of things that get in the way of that. There are distractions, there are day-to-day things, there are worries or anxieties, but our natural state is really our own full potential. The wonderful thing is that grounding can help put some of those things that get in the way to the side for a while so that we can actualize our full potential. And it's free. You can do it at any time, and it can take, as little as 5 to 10 minutes. Okay. I've explained a little bit about the brain and the frontal lobe. So today our hope is that by grounding, we can really access our potential to the fullest as possible for today. The first step really is to be aware of our physical state. So in doing that, the most powerful thing that you can do to connect with and bring down your physical state is just to pay attention to how you're breathing. So I want everybody to think about breathing and with the numbers 3, 3, and 5. Breathing in for 3 seconds, holding 3 seconds, and letting out for 5 seconds. So I'm going to guide everybody through 5 circles of this, and then I'll touch base with you. So everyone breathe in. 1, 2, 3. Hold. 1, 2, 3. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3. Hold. 1, 2, 3. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3. Hold. 1, 2, 3. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3. Hold. 1, 2, 3. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the last one. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3. Hold. 1, 2, 3. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I just want you to pay attention first to your shoulders. Are they tense, or can you relax them a little bit? And then in thinking about that, think about in your physical space, where is your spine? Where is your back? I want you to think physically about where you're sitting, and to the best of your ability, relax your muscles into the space that you are sitting, and just bringing our physical state down for a moment. And I want you to think about, as you're breathing, being aware of how your body expands and contracts as you breathe. That just helps ground yourself to your body and your ability to manage your emotional state. Now, I want you to pay attention for a minute what comes to mind when you do that. When you have been able to bring your physical state down a little bit, what comes to mind today? What might be getting in the way? There's no criticism. It's just allowing your brain to acknowledge what you might be bringing to this meeting today. What is on your mind? And then think too, what assets do you have today? What can you use within this meeting? What are you bringing to this meeting that was within your expertise, what is within your power, and what is within your knowledge base? And then if you think for a minute about the things that you may be carrying today that are getting in the way, we're going to do a brief containment exercise. A lot of times they do this exercise in imagining like a box or a trunk. I like the idea of thinking about a book. So I want you to visualize a book, a thick book with empty pages. And the more detail you give to that, the better. So what is the color of the cover of the book? Is it a softback book? Is it a spiral bound notebook? Is it a hardback book? Is it leather bound? Is it paper? So really visualizing this book with blank pages. And as you open the book and see these blank pages, I want you to put in words or in images, anything that may be getting in your way onto these pages. So taking things out of your mind and putting these onto these pages. Not forever, but just for now. You may have had a busy morning. You may have had a rough night. You may have anxieties about meeting today or other things that you have going on this afternoon or later this week. You may be caring for someone. So take all of those thoughts, those anxieties, those worries, those things that might be getting in the way, and put them on the pages of this book. And then when you feel like you've been able to take some of those things, I want you to close the book and visualize putting it up on a shelf just for now, not forever, but just for now. And the idea is I want to actualize my fullest potential for the next 2 hours. And I can't do that if these things are in the way. So can I put these things on the shelf so that I am present and grounded and I'm able to be in my full potential for this meeting? And pay attention to your breathing. Pay attention to the state of your body, your physical body. Is it tensed or relaxed? And there's no criticism, but again, just relax your shoulders and your body. And now that we've put some of our barriers and distractions on a shelf, I want you to really think, what do I want to create today? How do I want to feel today? What do I want to be able to access today? What steps would I need to take in order to do that? So this is setting an intention. This is being intentional for the next 2 hours or for the rest of the day. What is my primary focus? What is my goal? What do I want to create? How do I want to feel? And if you imagine that by the end of the day today, or by lunchtime today, you're able to do that, how would you look? What would be different? How would you feel? How would you speak? How would you move? And if you can imagine yourself in that state, I want you to imagine stepping into that self just for the next couple of hours. That self that is in a state that's able to create what they want today, that's able to feel what they want today, access what they want today. Step into that state. And this is really about tapping into your own wisdom, your own inner intuition. You know yourself best. And then really focusing that intention for today. Don't forget to breathe. Again, your physical body, where is it? Are you tense or relaxed? So breathe again. Relax your physical state again. And we'll reground. And it's a very simple grounding exercise. I want you to pick one letter of the alphabet. And I want you to name 5 things that begin with that letter of the alphabet. And now that you've grounded, I want you to allow your mind to think about one statement, one intention for the day. What would it be if you had to sum it up? One intention, one What do you want to create? What do you want to feel? What do you want to access? One intention for the day. And then I want you to make that physical where you can see it. Write it in an email or a text that you send to yourself. Write it down on a piece of paper so that it's sitting next to you where you're sitting today, but make it physical. It's very important to have tangible reminders of what our intentions are, because it's very easy to get distracted and lose them. So have a physical reminder of your intention for today. And if possible, it's a very powerful thing to think about doing this every day. It takes 5 minutes. I did it this morning laying in bed. What are my goals today? What do I want to create, manifest? How do I want to feel? And as long as you set that and you allow yourself to be guided by your own wisdom and your own natural state of full potential, you've done what you can. All right, one more deep breath. I'm going to reground everyone. Let them come back to the present moment as we move on with this meeting. And I appreciate your participation and attention. And I will hand it off to the next person. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you for taking that moment to help us all reset. I know this is something I could benefit from doing every day and maybe multiple times a day. I do want to acknowledge to all of you that there are some very heartbreaking things happening in the chat right now. And I want you to know that the BHA is reaching out to support this person and has been supporting her and will continue to do so. So I want you all to be aware of that, and that we will keep public comment until the end of the meeting. And thank you all for staying focused on our presentation for today while we address that as well. Okay, we will move on to BHA updates. Next slide, please. Okay, our first update to you all is, as all of the BHAAC members are aware, Angelina's last day with the BHA is Tuesday, October 3rd. So I wanted to spend some time to thank Angelina for all of the work that you have done with the BHAAC members from the time that you have been their lead and all of the support that you have offered during this time. The BHA is hiring a boards and commission administrator. That'll be a little bit down the road, but that administrator will eventually run all of our advisory councils. So in the interim, until that person is hired, I will be your BHA lead. And please reach out to me with any questions, concerns, any additional support that you need. All BHAAC members have my email. Okay, and with that, I will turn it over to Ryan Templeton.
Good morning, BHAAC. Ryan Templeton, he, him pronouns. I'm the Policy and External Affairs Division Director with the Behavioral Health Administration. One of the things I was made aware of that, hey, BHAAC didn't get the information about what happened during the legislative session in 2023, so earlier this year. One thing pretty significant happened with the Advisory Council and the parts of statute that created the council, as well as the membership, as well as created a regional subcommittee structure that was originally part of BHAAC. That has changed. I have, which I'll put in the chat for everyone to have, I know it's a ton of information on this, but I will put it in here as a link about what is the statutory change. So statutes being the laws of Colorado, right? What has changed from 2022 to 2023? And one of those pieces that did change was that regional subcommittee structure. Is there any way that I could potentially share my screen? So this is the document that I shared in the chat. So it's like, Ryan, there are way too many words on this. I completely acknowledge that, yes, there's a lot of language on here. This is the statutory language. So in our Colorado revised statutes, so there's two pieces to this box, right? So the Colorado law that created BHAAC is in 2750 part 7. So there's 3 parts to part 7, 701, 702, and 703. What I want to reiterate is that the bill that changed the 703 part of BHAAC did not change the creation of the BHAAC, did not change the membership of BHAAC. It only changed the regional subcommittee structure. So with that, right, so these first 2 tables are just here's 2022 language. It did not change. That's the highlighted pieces. And then part 3 is what changed. So this is the 275703. Previously in 2022, there was a regional subcommittee structure of the advisory council. So that we're supposed to align with the BHAAC regions or the Behavioral Health Administrative Service Organizations, those regional entities that will come online July 1 of 2025. The change is that the regional subcommittees are part of the BHAACs or the Behavioral Health Administrative Service Organizations. And the piece is that the role of the advisory council will to make sure that there's a process to receive direct feedback from those BHAAC administered regional subcommittees related to what service delivery in each of those sub-regions look like. So I just wanted to reiterate that, yes, there is still regional subcommittees. It is still this process of ensuring that there is community involvement, but the direct line about what community involvement is to those entities that are responsible for ensuring that there is a network of service delivery within those regions, which are our behavioral health administrative service organizations. So as we move forward over these next really year and a half, as we get to that BHAAC behavioral health administrative service launch, we need to work together between the BHA, the BHAACs, as well as BHAAC about what is that process to receive the direct feedback from community, that direct feedback from the Behavioral Health Administrative Service Organizations, so BHAAC can make those informed decisions about and recommendations to BHA about what the system needs, what the system is lacking, and how we can potentially model things that are going well across areas of Colorado into other areas. So with that, members, is there any questions related to this?
Ryan, I think there is some questions in the chat.
Let me look through here. Yep, so with the question about why are we just getting informed about this now? Yes, I think that's on us completely, right? There should be a routine legislative update, right? And I think that's the thing we can commit to moving forward as well. Both what has happened during the legislative session. So to be clear, the legislative branch of government is a completely different branch from where we at the BHA as well as BHAAC is housed. So they are the entity that makes the laws. The executive branch is the entity that implements them. So there's not a whole ton of say about what happens within that process over there for us directly. But what we can do and provide is hey, what are the laws that passed related to and that will have impact on behavioral health services in Colorado? I think that's an opportunity for us to streamline how our BHA's administration of advisory councils work. We do this with the Behavioral Health Planning and Advisory Councils having routine legislative updates, and we can absolutely do the same thing for BHAAC, and we absolutely should.
Ryan, there's another one from Raquel in there.
So like a commitment from BHA to BHAAC in writing moving forward. So I think there's an interesting piece here is that this seems to be a collaborative partnership between BHAAC and BPAC. Right? Like, this is about creating a system that works for the people of Colorado. Yeah, and I mean, I think that's part of bylaws construction, and that's part of supporting and establishing what you all need within making informed decisions and recommendations about the system as a whole. But I mean, we can absolutely commit to the, hey, what does the timing look like of legislative updates as well? So yeah, I'm fully supportive of that as well as having my team come and do that directly. So with that, kick it back to you, Dr. Rob, to move
Sure.
us forward.
Sure. Okay, I just want to take a sec, if we can, to acknowledge, I just didn't want to fly over Angelina leaving, and I wanted to express so much gratitude for her work. And I think I speak for everybody in the BHAAC. I mean, we're excited to see what Megan's going to do, but we're extremely grateful for everything that Angelina has done for us, reached out and communicated with us. And I just didn't want that to slide by without acknowledging that and acknowledging how much support and just communication. And she really has been extremely helpful to a lot of us. And again, also, we're excited to see what Megan can bring forward. And she's been awesome as well so far, reaching out to everybody. So I just wanted to say some appreciation for that and acknowledging that what is going on in the chat. And just, I see a lot of us are extremely concerned that this needs to be taken care of and that it's addressed, because I don't want to disrespect anybody that's speaking because they're reading the chat and focusing on that. And I think that there's several people asking in the chat if this is being addressed or if somebody has reached out, and it sounds like somebody is going to or has. I just wanted to confirm that. Megan or whoever.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Rob. Sorry, I am emailing as you are talking, or messaging, sorry, as you are talking, and I will say it out loud as well. Emily, I'm putting an email in the chat for you to Heather Pash. She is runs our care coordination, and she's expecting your email. So please reach out to Heather and she can support you further, Emily. And thank you for acknowledging that again, Dr. Rob.
Sure. I want to make sure I see people concerned.
Absolutely. 100%. We are concerned as well.
Okay, so what's next?
Okay, Sarah, do you want to go back to sharing the slides?
And I also wanted to just say, since we're pulling up slides, thank you, Ryan, for acknowledging when balls get dropped and that we're going to fix it moving forward. I think that's important, and it's a step in the right direction.
%, agree with that. So I think, Dr. Robert, we realized the only way to move forward in a positive direction is to realize our mistakes and figure out how to resolve them and not repeat them. So with that, oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, next we have BHAAC business. So this sounds a lot like BHAAC business.
Yes, it does. Okay, next slide, please. So as I mentioned earlier, I wanted to spend some time just resetting and refocusing as this group has been through a lot of change. And also very importantly, change of the chairs for this group. And so wanted to acknowledge that that change is hard too. And with that, wanted to take some time to reset and talk about the role and the purpose of the Behavioral Health Administration Advisory Council. So the role is to provide feedback and make recommendations to the BHA, commissioner to improve the behavioral health system for Colorado. To provide feedback as a method of ensuring transparency and accountability, to provide diverse community input on challenges, gaps, and potential solutions to inform the BHA's vision and strategic plan, to establish work groups to support the BHA in problem solving and developing solutions, to review the BHA's public-facing activities, including the performance data collected to ensure public accountability and transparency, and to prepare an annual report of recommendations to submit in the General Assembly report to the legislator. I'm sorry, my slides got cut off a little bit there. I think I tried to fit too much information, so I apologize for that. I think that was all of the bullets on the page though. So are there any questions around the BHAAC role and purpose? And I pulled all of this as I read through the legislation. I pulled all of this straight from statute on what the role and purpose is. Seth.
So I just want to kind of get like some clarity on the financial aspect of the BHA's purpose and stuff, that, you know, it's in our interest to share perspectives or needs in communities that we might be a part of or that we might have experience in, and that we are not there to like decide necessarily where funding goes and stuff. Like, we're not here to like divvy out the money or anything. We're here to advise on where there's a need and encourage the BHA to divvy out the money if there's a need. And, you know, I just want that clarity so everybody understands that we're not here making decisions about where the money goes and how it's spent.
Yes, absolutely correct, Seth. Thank you for making that clarification.
Megan, maybe not everybody's asking questions, but I've spoke to several BHAAC members. There's a few things that I think fall into the business. Some is outside of this, and so we can table it for a second. I think one of the things that everybody's kind of asked questions about, as far as like what we will be doing, what we will be advising, and how that will look in the future. Because so far it has been, and I don't want to speak for everybody, but some of the people I've spoke with, is that we've been talked to and explained to, but we haven't been asked a lot of questions. And I know it's catching us up. And so I think one of the things that we would want for sure is, you know, once we're caught up, and if there's trainings that we could do that can happen offline. I know there's a rule about us all being together, but at this point I feel like the rules have been thrown out the door. So I just feel like if we can get together, do trainings, and that way when we are on these meetings, the BHAAC and our committee, you know, just in general, is giving perspective from a lived experience on how to improve the BHA and what strategies they take. And I don't feel like we've been given a lot of opportunity to do that, because most of these meetings have, with no offense, I know it is what it is, but has come across as a town hall, right? It's been like a town hall where kind of the town hall meetings, but we're being explained stuff to, but I haven't heard a lot of, hey, BHAAC, what do you think? Where are the gaps? What's missing in this? Like, where are we missing the boat? You know, and so how will we, going into the future, following the BHAAC's role and purpose that you have in these bullet points, how will we be able to be a part of that? And then once we do speak, how do we confirm that we're heard? Will a vote be taken? Will we have access to any of the conversations that go around the rulemaking and the gaps in services that we're acknowledging and pointing out? And maybe this is my ignorance, because it might have happened with the previous chair, and we just aren't aware of it. So I just want to make sure that's very clear, because I know a lot of people are passionate that are on this panel and they want to stay on the panel, but some are feeling like they want to ensure that what we're doing is heard and actually has value, other than, as some people have said, checking a box of lived experience counsel, not doing any counseling.
100%. Yes, hear you 100%, Dr. Rob. And actually, if we can go to the next slide, I think I will start to answer some of your questions.
Oh, sorry if I jumped ahead. That's me.
No worries at all. Completely valid and completely why we're doing today's meeting the way we are, just to clear all of this up and make sure that we have a clear process moving forward to do exactly what you were just talking about, Dr. Rob. So this next slide comes from 3 words at the top that I heard from every single one of you that I have met with so far. I thank you to the council members who have spent time with me one-on-one, telling me what you need and your perspective and how you're doing and getting to know me a little bit. I've really enjoyed those conversations with you all, and I know I have several already on the calendar for later this week and next week. But those words are trust, collaboration, and communication. And I think we can all agree that these words are so important in moving forward in all the work that we do. But very important with the collaborative relationship between the BHA and our advisory council. And so to kind of build on what Dr. Rob was talking about and requesting, really looking at the structure of the meetings and being able to structure the meetings in a way that the BHA can share information with you and then spend a lot of time around discussion and advising and really hearing from you so that you have a chance to give us your input, your feedback, identify gaps to any of the work that we're doing, and provide potential solutions. So for those of you that were in the July meeting, it was structured a little bit different. It was structured to where we presented on information and then there was room for discussion. I don't know in that meeting that there was enough room for discussion. So definitely some lessons learned that we need to maybe not come with so many topics, but allow more room for discussion so we can really hear it and spread the topics out a little bit. So the meetings will continue moving forward, starting with our November meeting, be more structured similarly to that July meeting. The BHA is committed to sending out materials to review 1 week prior to each meeting. And I will send them out sooner if possible, just so you have as much time, or if there's more heavy information in there, definitely give you more than a week for that. In those meetings, the BHA will present information on the materials, and that will be followed by hearing the BHAAC's feedback, potential solutions, and discussion around the work that's being presented and in the process of getting built out. Additionally, several of you mentioned to me that you would like to have links to upcoming town hall and provider meetings. So I will send those out via email so that you have the registration links and reminders of when those meetings are. And just a reminder that those meetings are also listed on the BHA calendar, so you can always click there as well, or find it in the emails that I send out to you. And then all of you are encouraged to reach out to me if you have any concerns or questions. I'm happy to make time to process those with you and continue to build out what this council needs to look like to be productive. And so we are all following statute and meeting our legislative requirements of the work that we need to do together. And then the BHA response to the BHAAC report. I know you all requested a response to the recommendations in there, so just wanted to give you a heads up that that response will be provided later today after the break during the commissioner's briefing. And Seth, I see your hand up.
Yes, I when I talked to you, Megan, one of the things that I said that would benefit this council and our statutory obligations is now that we have experienced the process of submitting a report by September 1st, we now know that it's due every year on September 1st, and that we should probably start working on that end of the year report, or at least have a working group working on it as soon as like May or June. So we're not at the last minute trying to provide feedback or advisory council recommendations with our like chickens with our heads cut off. It's like we need more time to do that big part of our responsibilities so that everybody can have a word about what's being written and have time to read it all and review it, and have everybody be able to, if we have to sign it or discuss signing it or not signing it or voting on it or not voting on it. I think that needs to be part of the discussion of the next September's report that we have to do. And I think we should talk about that at least sometime in our meeting in spring of sometime.
Absolutely, Seth. Thank you for bringing that up. There are definitely a lot of lessons learned around the report. I know this was BHAAC's first report, probably for many, if not all of you, first time writing a report to this nature. And so definitely we will start this process sooner next year, have some lessons learned of being able to provide additional support and guidance around what is required in the report, the purpose of the report, how it all works, as well as the process of once the committee writes the report, then everyone on BHAAC having the opportunity to vote. And I apologize that I sent out some information delayed on how the voting process works and the requirement to have everyone vote on that report. And so just wanted to send out just share with you a quick reminder of that. Anytime we have something written, so the BHAAC report is written represented to this entire group, we have to give people an opportunity and then document that in the report that I can't remember what the exact vote was, but of 18 members, 13, this many were present, 13 voted yes on it, this many didn't vote, just so that it's clear that it's not, we can't say that this is the voice of every single person. And so that it's clear that there was an opportunity and that a couple people didn't share this perspective, but the majority did. And so that's just us being transparent with the process and where everyone was at, because it is an entire council. And so we want to be clear that everyone has the opportunity to express their vote on that. And Tasha, I see your hand.
Yes, Tasha Conker here, they, them. My question or my statement pretty much, or question, I don't know. We sent out a copy of this report more than once to the whole council for them to review. So we did do that. And when it came to the different, with your email that was sent at 9:33 on August 30th, in the bylaws, that's not what was written, and to change that automatically, why weren't we informed of that earlier than at 9:33 at night on the 30th when the report was due by September 1st?
Thank you for acknowledging that, Tasha. And I do apologize. I apologize for that late response to that. And that is definitely on the top of our lessons learned. And we will definitely have a completely different process for how we do this next year for sure, so that we don't repeat any of the same mistakes.
So Megan, I want to take a second, if I can, to acknowledge all of the hard work that everybody did that worked on the report. Tasha, Seth, specifically, like, I know everybody was working and really trying, and it really honestly is a little deflating that it ended the way that it did, those of us that kind of knew what was going on with the signatures and everything. And so I know one of the questions that I've heard quite a few times is, does that mean that we didn't meet our legislative requirements for the BHAAC? Does that mean that because it wasn't signed and this was thrown out there late? Because I think the work and the passion that was put into that report should be acknowledged, in that it should be able to move forward. I want to make sure that it's not like a technicality that it looks like the ball was dropped by us. And like Raquel said, we worked hard on that. Sorry, Raquel. I know Raquel worked hard on that as well. And I just want to make sure that, you know, if it can move forward, and did we miss a requirement that was our responsibility.
Thank you, Dr. Rob. And I do acknowledge you all put a lot of work into it, and you did work hard. And thank you for your time in that process. And it will be included in the General Assembly report to the legislator. Ryan, is there anything that you wanted to expand on that?
Yeah, thanks, Megan. And I appreciate this conversation. Y'all put a ton of work into that, right? It came in on time. The thing that we just need a clarification on is that it was voted on by all members. The report that I got came with comments still active in there, so it looked more like a draft coming. So we just need a clarification that was the piece of that it went through the process. It came in more than enough time. Our General Assembly report comes out or gets submitted to the General Assembly October 1st. So like, we're not there yet either. It gets included in that as a statutory requirement that's where it gets included in, that gets sent over to the General Assembly. We are still good. Like we are, the time frame was tight. Like you did a great job, right? Like a lot of what is included in the report is a lot of stuff that like decisions haven't been made about it. Like we haven't met the timing for the pieces that the system needs, and that what the BHAAC is really there to collaborate with the BHA on, related to a whole bunch of different things. So even this year, the report, right? Like in an ideal world, we would have the whole system, and then the report would say, hey, this is how the system is working. We haven't created the new system yet. So it makes it difficult that way as well. And we're experiencing the same thing with us writing our General Assembly report, saying, how is implementing this new system-wide grievance? Like that system-wide grievance system is due July 1 of 2024. So like writing about what the implementation is about with that system, it's just difficult timing right now, and fully acknowledging that is the piece. And our system is incredibly complex, right? So having a new advisory council trying to come with learning what does all of the timing look like, right? So that's a big piece that, yeah, it's a lesson learned, and how we can really, as the BHA, support this advisory council and really create that larger collaborative partnership about where the system is going and what the timing looks like. I think we'll just move it forward, because this is an annual requirement. Seth, just like you said, like having a clear timeline for what BHAAC needs to do, I think would be incredibly beneficial for this group. But that also comes with us, the BHA, saying, hey, what can we provide you, and when and how, to make sure that you are making those informed recommendations as well.
Thank you, Ryan.
Any other questions on this slide before we move to the next one?
No, thank you for letting us know that, because we weren't sure what happened to the report.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. And thank you again for everyone that worked so hard on it. Next slide, please. Okay, so wanted to acknowledge that there have been some membership changes to BHAAC, and wanted to offer some appreciation and congratulations to members that are moving on to other things. So saying goodbye to Tina Rowe, who is moving, I believe, out of state, and so has resigned from BHAAC. Jessie Pocock, who has some unexpected extra work that she's devoted to doing, and so needed to step away from the BHAAC role to be able to accommodate that. But good things professionally for Jessie. And then saying goodbye to our former chair, Bob Dorsheimer, who has stepped away both from BHAAC chair role as well as from BHAAC. And then also wanted to acknowledge that Raquel, who I think is still on with us today, has stepped down from her chair role, but is continuing on as a member of BHAAC. So thank you for being here with us today, Raquel. See some congratulations and some love coming in. So again, thank you for all that you've contributed to the BHAAC and the BHA. We wish everyone that is departing from BHAAC, we wish them well, wish them all the best in their future. And again, wanted to take some time here and thank all of you that are still here. I know that change is hard, transition is hard. There's been a lot that you all have experienced over the last year. And so I want to thank you for being here today and for continuing on in your role. And just wanted to reiterate again how much I've enjoyed getting to know a lot of you one-on-one, and how clear your passion and your dedication and your commitment to this work is. I know that we can do great things together. And so I look forward to continuing on with everyone that is still here with BHAAC. And wanted to provide an update that we will launch a search for new members, hopefully within the next month, and we will look at what the structure looks like. It will be kind of bringing people on either in staggered individuals or a staggered cohort, so that not all transition is happening at the same time. All of you started at the same time, and so we want to definitely make sure that the transitions happen in a staggered way, so we always have a fairly full council. And then once so we'll look at what that timeline looks like. It will probably be a few months to get those positions and get BHAAC fully staffed with members. And once we are at our 20 members, then we will vote for new co-chairs for BHAAC. So in the time being, we will do what we did today, where at the beginning of each meeting, we will vote for a temporary chair for the day. So that also gives other folks a chance to step up and see what the role is like and experience that. And then I see Seth's hand. Go ahead, Seth.
So just to clarify, I think I saw something in the chat about what Angelina said about there have been new appointments of some new members. Is that true? Or and if so, can we have them introduce themselves?
I thought she was just saying new people came in.
Okay.
I'm trying to find Angelina. Are you still on? Can you clarify what's in the chat?
Sorry.
No, it's fine. Oh yeah, I apologize. That was just that BHAAC members joined the meeting after we did roll call. So that
okay.
I apologize, Seth.
Okay.
A little confused paired with this conversation.
Yeah, all right. My confusion. Thank you.
Appreciate you asking, Seth.
Megan, so this is a question, and I don't know if this is written anywhere that it's against it, but could a few be, and not me, I'm just going to throw that out there first, but could a few BHAAC members be a part of the decision-making committee as we bring new members on, since we know what is expected, since we know what it feels like, since we know what you know, we just kind of know, right? Like you said, like we are the experienced ones. So like, could a couple people be appointed to helping make that decision and make sure we're getting the people that are on the committee for the right reasons and that are going to truly understand what it's like to be put in the public eye and have lived experience and really like we just know we've been there. Like I'm sure a lot of us through this was going like, oh, what did I get myself into? And so I think it would be really helpful if we can tell the new people, this is what you're getting into, and this could be what happens, at the same time as giving like, them an honest look. I just throwing that out there.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Dr. Rob. And I have noted that down as we look at what our process will be. All members of BHAAC are appointed by the commissioner. And so we have interim Commissioner Barnes will likely have a different process than Commissioner Medlock did in selecting BHAAC members. And so part of figuring out how we will launch the search for our new members is part of developing that process with the commissioner. And so I've noted that, and we'll bring that back for discussion. So thank you. And then I see a couple of hands. I don't know which one came up first, but we haven't heard from you yet, Karen. So Renee, I apologize. I looked at the beginning of your name.
No worries.
And then after Renee, we'll go to Seth.
Okay. Can you guys hear me okay?
Audio now unmuted.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So one thing I just want to bring up, I think that's important, because I think it got in the way somewhat in our past chaos that we've had a little bit, is that when these new members are selected, if there is a committee, whatever interim Commissioner Barnes decides to do, whatever it is, that the focus is on the personal lived experience, not the professional. I think the professional is an important part to understand things, but this is a committee, a council that is represented by our lived experience, our personal lived experience. And I don't think we need to be focusing on the professional part of it. So I think that's really important with whoever is brought in, that personal lived experience is the main focus.
Looks like you're done talking, so you'll lower your hand in 8 seconds.
Thank you, Renee. I have noted that as well.
So I would just want to recommend that I hear what Dr. Rob is saying, and I know that we have a executive committee that prepares like information for our next meetings and stuff like that on the last Thursday of the month, which will be next week from 9 to 12 or 9 to 9:55. So I would encourage anybody that hasn't been part of a working group that would want to be on the executive committee to maybe attend that session and have the executive committee like see if we need new members or to be on that committee because of some departures or something, and maybe that committee could also be part of the BHAAC process of working with Commissioner Barnes or the next commissioner on a process that might bring on new members and have that lived experience that Renee is talking about. But also I want to encourage that we not only just have lived experience on the council, but we also have professional experience, because some of us are personal and professional, especially as a peer specialist. And, I work for a nonprofit in mental health, and I have the inside perspective of what it's like to work for an agency like that as a peer specialist, and how my lived experience, both professionally and personally, basically make up most of my obligations and my extracurricular activities and I bring my whole self to, you know, the BHAC when I come here. And I tell people I don't represent the company I work for, but I have professional experience as a peer specialist, and that experience is valuable for something like this. I just wanted to clarify that. And I'm sure there are other professionals that have lived experience that are part of, you know, community mental health centers that are still and could be appointed to this council for their personal and professional perspective. And I just want to acknowledge that that's should not be negated or anything, but should still be allowed to be considered.
Thanks, Seth. I think most of us agree with that, and it's great. It's a great way you said it. I bring both myselves to it, professional and lived, and I think that is valuable.
So I just
Great.
want to make sure really quickly, sorry, Marina, I think that you have control, or you now own the exec committee invite. I know that you're not going to be there next week, but Nor, Carolyn, and Tasha all indicated that they may be interested to join. So maybe you can add them to the invite and go from there.
Yes, I will be happy to do that.
Thank you.
And then I think I saw in the chat that Seth was the only one, but I think Raquel is also on there and Catherine in the executive committee.
Yep.
Okay. And then also saw Commissioner Barnes put in the chat that we will find a way to include BHAAC members in the membership process. And I'm sure you will hear I know you will hear more great things from Commissioner Barnes in the update coming up. But I do want to be mindful of time and move us on to the next slide if there's not any other dire questions on this slide. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so some more BHAAC updates. I know that in my research, and I've shared with many of you that I've looked for just further documentation, you all should have signed a commitment letter at the beginning of your term for BHAAC. And I have not been able to find any actual commitment letters. And then in my conversations with you all, it sounds like there were not actual commitment letters signed. There was a letter from Dr. Medlock appointing you to your 3-year term. And then you all signed that as your kind of in lieu of signing a commitment letter. But we have, just to align expectations of BHAAC members, as well as the expectations of the BHA, I have been quickly working on drafting a letter for you all that is almost finished. It just needs one final approval, and I will send it out by the end of the day for you all to review, approve, provide me any feedback. So you'll have a week to provide me feedback, questions, clarification, anything that you have regarding that document. And so what it outlines is BHAAC members' commitments, what you all are committing to as a BHAAC member, what the BHA is committed to as a support role for BHAAC, and the collaborative relationship that the BHA has, and that includes compensation and getting compensation to you timely. The letter of commitment will be provided to all BHAAC members by 5 p.m. today. On there is one line that says what your term is. So the beginning of your term is when your term started. And then you can select, you have an option here. If you want to continue to serve a 3-year term, then you just put in what your 3-year term that you had committed to with Dr. Medlock. If you would like to transition that to only a 2-year term, the statute does allow for some of these to be 2-year terms. So you have that option. I just wanted to put that out there in case that's something that folks are feeling like they're not sure that they're ready to stay in this for the full 3 years, but could commit to 2 years. You absolutely have that option. And then I ask that you send any feedback to me no later than 5 p.m. on September 26th. So that's any feedback specific to the content in that letter. And then the finalized commitment letters will be sent out to all BHAAC members on 9/27. So again, even after you receive that commitment letter, you can reach out to me at any time for additional clarification, to ask any questions. And then commitment letters will need to be signed by October 11th. So you have some time to really sit with us and really make a decision on the 3-year or the 2-year term. And then additionally, you have lots of time before it's finalized to ask me questions and then to decide what your decision is on that. New members will be required to sign and follow the commitment. And new members will also be required to sign a conflict of interest statement that current members were not asked to sign. The BHA is working on putting together a handbook for all members. So it sounds like some of you have kind of put together your own handbooks, but we do want to make sure that we have a place where you can get all information that you need so that everyone understands the function, the purpose, the roles of BHAAC.
There's a couple questions in the chat, but I also just want to say, when you send out the signature request for the letter or document, I have a hard time on my laptop being able to sign anything. Like I can't use PDF filer or something like that to like sign a document, and I can't like find the signature or put in signature thing on the drop down screen like I normally do on other programs or other computers. So if we have the option for a mailed letter, I would prefer that, because that way I can sign something and mail it back. And then there's questions in the chat.
Thanks for bringing that up, Seth. I will definitely look at what options. I think certainly we can do that via mail, and there may be some other options too. I know some documents we can send them to you so that you can sign them on your phones. So I can look into that as well. So I appreciate that's a really great question. Caroline. Oh, Caroline, you're still on mute.
One thing that has been helpful to me is when I've been able, and Seth, I don't know if you have this capability, but copying off the letter, signing it, take a picture, and then sending it back. I don't know if that's an option, but I know I've done that with BHA in the past.
Nora also asked a question about will current members be asked to sign the conflict of interest statement?
That is a great question, Nor, and I will find an answer for you. As I explained to those of you that I have talked to one-on-one, or to a lot of you, we are aligning with CDHS and some of their policies and looking at ensuring that we're following the same policies for all of our councils. And so let me look into that and get back to you. I will try to get you an answer by the end of the day, if not tomorrow.
Megan, thank you for giving us dates.
Yes, absolutely.
When things will be completed. Thank you.
Okay, so moving on to the next slide. Just wanted to provide an update on bylaws. And this is also another area that is lessons learned. I know that there's also a bylaws subcommittee that has worked incredibly hard on writing the bylaws, doing research, putting time into the bylaws. And one step that got missed in this process is that the BHA needs to do, when bylaws are created, the BHA needs to do a legislative and legal review of the bylaws to ensure that they align with statute. And so that did not happen before the bylaws. It sounds like the bylaws were, the bylaws were voted on in the August meeting minutes, but we need to back up a little bit. We've done a legislative review on it, and it's currently with our legal department still to ensure that it aligns with everything that we need it to. And so the next steps are that once the legal review is complete, the BHAAC chair for the day will need to reestablish the bylaws subcommittee for the purpose of revising the bylaws as required through the legal review. And so that will be to go back to that committee, all of you that worked so hard on this, and just to go through and do required revisions based on what we, by statute, to align legally and with statute. And then once revised, the bylaws will need to be voted on again for final approval during the November meeting. And Tasha, I see your hand up.
Tasha Conker here. Morena led us in this, and she is like followed the statutes and stuff like that. Why were we not informed of this throughout this whole process? Like, our group worked their asses off, pardon my language, their butts off to get this done, and we were misdirected on all of this. Why did that happen?
Tasha, I can continue to apologize that that there was not further guidance and understanding of this process. And again, reassure you that I am paying very careful attention to all of the lessons learned, all of the processes, so that this doesn't happen again, so that we continue to know the process and will not make the same mistakes.
Where's the accountability? Where is the accountability? It's always, I apologize, I apologize, I apologize. Where is the accountability from the administration?
We're taking accountability by looking at, I can only move forward from where I started. And so I know that this was something that you all were working on prior to me stepping in as the BHA lead. And as I'm wrapping my arms around it, I'm ensuring that we're taking all of the steps in the direction that we need to ensure that we are moving forward aligned with statute and meeting the requirements, both of the BHA and of the BHAAC.
There's been no accountability from the interim commissioner with what's been going on. Questions have been asked since April, June, May, and nothing's been answered by anybody. So how can we continue to build trust and have transparency and accountability when you guys aren't even taking accountability? You're just apologizing. We're sorry, we're sorry, we're sorry. How is that going to build our trust back?
So through
not only with the council, but with the people of Colorado, for the people of Colorado, our communities.
So Tasha, let me, go ahead.
Go ahead, Dr. Rob, and then I see Marina's hand is up as well.
I was just gonna ask, I saw Commissioner Barnes did put something in the chat, but Tasha, just to ask, what would you like to see? What would be a satisfying way to take accountability for any balls that were dropped? I mean, I'm just asking because I see everybody putting stuff in. I see Commissioner Barnes putting stuff in the chat, and I know that we've kind of had these conversations offline. What do you think would be the proper way to show accountability?
answer the questions that we've been asking from the get-go instead of brushing them under the rug, out of sight, out of mind.
Are we
We've been
still
Okay.
looking at
asking
the
questions.
bylaws?
We've
I
been
just-
asking questions since April and throughout the whole meetings, and nothing. It's been ghosts in the wind, not even crickets.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding where you're coming from, Tasha, because I feel in this meeting, I've been very attentive to answering every question that has come up. And if we don't have answers, I have a process for getting those answers and aligning that we give you accurate answers when we give them to you. And then I have been reaching out with each to connect with each one of you to talk individually around your experience around BHAAC, your role, seeing it going forward, and how we can work together to collaboratively. So I can be 100% accountable from the day I start as your BHAAC lead, and moving forward to answer all questions as they come up, which is what I've been doing throughout this process, and the plan moving forward for upcoming meetings to ensure that when we present information to you, there's plenty of time for discussion and plenty of time for you all to serve as your role as the advisory council in providing updates, identifying gaps, and potential solutions. I do want to acknowledge Marina's hand and then Seth's also.
Thanks, Megan. I appreciate it. Marina Borisov. Tasha, I can take a little bit of accountability here, as you're right. I was staff to the bylaws working group, and I led that group into, informing the bylaws to the best of my ability. I did not know that we actually needed to do the legal review for the bylaws from the department, so I definitely take ownership in that. What Megan said is that we need to, kind of reinstitute the committee again and revise the bylaws. To be honest, I don't feel like there will be significantly large changes, but we'd certainly want to make sure we align with the department and with our legal counsel and, kind of our operational guidance, make sure we can support BHAAC in all the ways that, we can. So I don't foresee there being, major giant changes, but and I don't think this, it's going to take a long time, but I do feel like if there is, a need for a legal revision of the bylaws, I don't foresee that being a very huge undertaking, but we definitely want to follow that guidance. So there's that.
Thank you, Marina, for taking accountability for that. I appreciate that very, very much.
So Seth Watkins, just so I saw Commissioner Barnes asking what we would like her to do to help take accountability for anything that has been a problem. And I think that, as some people have stated, they would like a session with Michelle Barnes about how they can talk with her one-on-one and maybe via like share their concerns or ask their questions again that they feel that they're not getting answers to from her directly one-on-one, so we don't have to do it in the meeting like this for everyone to like be here. And because like when I talked to Megan one-on-one for a half hour on Zoom, I got a lot of my questions answered, and it seemed like, I mean, it might not be able to be an in-person meeting, even though that might have happened with previous co-chairs, but it's like maybe at least a Zoom meeting and having it recorded for like accountability. And just, I mean, that's the one thing I see that could happen for like, her to show us accountability and to hear us. What we're trying to say is what's not working and what is working, is to have those sporadic, in between meetings, like sessions with her one-on-one would be probably helpful.
Okay, I'm gonna keep us all moving forward if there's no other questions, because I know we have a break coming up and I know a lot of people have other things going on today. So if we're done with, if I don't see any more questions, am I missing any, Megan?
Hold on, let me look through the chat. Commissioner Barnes has extended an offer to, if anyone wants to meet directly with her, they can connect and set up a time to meet with her, and she's extended that to all BHAAC members. And then oh, sorry, I don't know why I'm having a hard time scrolling through it. I think that covers it. There's a message from Raquel as well. And Raquel, if you want to connect with Commissioner Barnes, you can also reach out to me. All of you are welcome. Even if you've already reached out to me, please reach out to me at any time. I am always, I'm 100% committed to giving you the time that you need. And that one-on-one time, I agree with Seth. It really helps me to be able to have that dedicated time to really hear and listen and provide questions or provide answers to your questions. I think that's it. That's it in what I'm seeing. But if there's any that I missed, I will review them during the break, and when we reconnect, we can go back to them.
Okay, so let's go to break.
We will return at starting a little bit late, so we can return from break at 10:50.
Megan, what time did you say return from break?
10:50.
Great.
Thank you. I apologize. I'm like, I just realized we were 2 hours ahead, and I just read my emails, and they said be there by 1 to get your bike. So I'm looking at 9 till 1 right now where I'm at.
All right, well, go get it, and good luck. Enjoy.
All right, please, apology to everybody for having to bail out. I'm so sorry.
Thank you for chairing the first half, Dr. Rob. We appreciate it.
Sorry, I'm going to miss what you're saying, Commissioner. I definitely will find out what's everything you said. Thank you all. Sorry, guys.
Good luck, Dr. Rob. That's a big deal.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. Hopefully you all can hear me and just have your cameras still off, but are present with us. For those of you that are not yet back on camera. If you did not hear, Dr. Rob needed to jump off for the second half of the meeting. And so we will need to ask for a volunteer to chair the remainder of the meeting today. Is there any volunteers with a show of hands? If you can put the raised hand feature up, if you are willing to chair the second half of today's meeting for us.
Megan, what happens if we don't have a volunteer? Are we allowed to proceed, or do we need a volunteer?
I actually do not know the answer to that, but I will learn the answer and I will never not know the answer to that again moving forward. Ryan, do you know if we can continue? Oh,
I see a raised hand.
raised hand.
This is
Dr.
Dr. Oberly. I'll give it a shot.
Thank you, Dr. Oberly. Very much appreciate you stepping up. So at this time, if you are in support of Dr. Oberly chairing the second half of the meeting, please use the raised hand feature to vote. And it looks like we have majority vote. Okay, Dr. Oberly is the chair for the remainder of the meeting. And Sarah, do you mind going back to sharing slides, please? Okay, wanted to take a few minutes to ask about any questions that came up over the break around any of the information that was presented today. And Raquel, I see your hand. I'm not sure if you were voting or if you had a question.
I was just voting.
Okay, thank you.
I guess actually, you know what, while we're here, I do have one question. I guess my question is that, at first when I appreciate the fact that everybody's getting this private one-on-one conversation, but I just want to know what statute or what rules changed that at first I was told I could not do one-on-ones meetings, which is what I wanted to do, this relationship building at the very beginning of the change. And I want to know what's changed now that everybody is allowed to have a private one-on-one with the interim commissioner when I was not afforded that same as co-chair when the transition and change happened. And so I want to know where it's written, because I was held to statute for not being able to meet privately, and I want to know what's changed.
I don't know that there are changes. It is my understanding that one-on-one, oh, Commissioner Barnes has her hand up.
I'll try and take that. Thanks for the question, Raquel. It's the challenge. I've always been able to do one-on-ones with any of you. I've, in fact, had the pleasure of coming to some of your locations and seeing your work and what you do on a day-to-day basis. That is completely has been an open invitation to all of you. I'm happy to do a one-on-one. When we get to more than one person, then sunshine laws come in. And so I can't meet with a group of advisory council members where it's not a public meeting. So I'm very happy to do one-on-ones. It's when we're doing groups, then it has to be a public meeting. So if there's been
I appreciate that, but at first I did ask for a one-on-one, and I was told that it had to be on camera. And so with all due respect, I understand that that's the way it is now, but that was not actually how it was explained to me at the very beginning. And so I'm grateful that that is the rule now, but I was told that and I had asked for a private meeting. I just wanted to meet you one-on-one. And so grateful that that's changed, but that was not what was told me at the very beginning.
Let me apologize to you if we gave wrong information. I apologize. I can absolutely meet with you one-on-one and would welcome that opportunity.
Any other questions that came up during the break?
I just want a little bit of clarification. I don't know if we've gotten to it in the agenda yet or not, but when we talked about regional committees or subcommittees of working groups or of BASOs or, whatever the statutes were rewritten or whatever, like, does a BHAAC member have to serve on those regional advisory committees? Or do those regional advisory committees report to the BHAAC that what's going on in their neighborhood or their county? I'm just a little confused about that part of what we talked about.
I will take that one. Ryan Templeton, him, Policy and External Affairs Division Director. Good question. Seth, this is one of those ones where yes.
Is everyone else getting an echo? I'm getting I'm hearing you twice.
I think that anybody not speaking needs to mute themselves to help the echo.
How's that? Is that better? No. Okay, let me re-sign in here. Maybe it's me.
All right, while we wait for Ryan to rejoin us, is there another question? And then we can go back to Seth's question once Ryan jumps back on, just to be mindful of time. Okay, we'll give him a minute to rejoin.
How about now? Better. Okay, so question about the subcommittee structure or the new subcommittee structure that reports directly to the Behavioral Health Administrative Service Organizations. Previously, it was supposed to be report directly or make subcommittees that report to BHAAC. So that is now the role of BOSSOs, and the membership of that is there's a few different membership. It's not specifically BHAAC members. The BHAAC role is ensuring that there's a process for BHAAC to get updates related to what those subcommittees of the BOSSOs will be. So with the BOSSO rollout being July 1 of 2025, there is still some time to make sure that we work out what that process looks like to get the information that this advisory council needs from those regional subcommittees of the BOSSOs. And this is where we can go over what membership looks like and what membership appointment looks like, because there's appointments from local communities and BOSSOs and the commissioner directly for those regional subcommittees of the BOSSOs to ensure that there is some consistency across regions about who is on those.
Thank you. That answers my question.
Thank you, Ryan. And being mindful of time, I would like to move us along. Dr. Arbely, do you want to move us along to the next topic?
Yes, let's move on to the next topic, the commissioner's briefing.
Great. Thank you. Okay, can you all hear me? I'll take that as a yes. So I want to give a update today, a couple of things going on at the BHA, but I want to spend the majority of the time talking about the questions you asked in your legislative report to me that, as we talked earlier, will absolutely move on to the legislature. Our report to them is due October 1, and that report will include your report unabridged. So is everyone clear on that? It will get passed on. Okay. So let me give a couple just brief updates and we'll go to the report. I do want to let you know BHA met with the Joint Budget Committee yesterday to talk about our priorities, our budgets, the work that we're doing. And I thought it went very well. The legislators were really interested in hearing more about the work of the BHA and our focus on a couple really high priority statutory requirements that we have. And you are always welcome when we meet with the BHA you can come in person, but most people just listen in. It's a public meeting and anyone can listen into that. We've also, the last couple weeks, have been doing listening sessions with the governor around the state. He's pulling communities together. The ones scheduled have been Aurora, Grand Junction, Pueblo, and Fort Collins. And BHA's been there so far, the three that have been held to learn more about issues by community. I just personally went to the one in Pueblo earlier this week. And I have to tell you, it was really eye-opening to hear about some of their unique challenges with housing and homelessness. So just know we are out listening. We're trying to spend as much time as we can in community, understanding what unique issues are by population or by region or by community. So want to let you know that's going on. We did also have a State Board of Human Services meeting earlier this month. It was the better part of a day. And so, rules that come, legislation comes through the legislature, obviously, and then CDHS and BHA are chartered with coming up with rules that kind of fill in the gaps on the legislature. They may say something kind of broad, and then we figure out what that means. And the most recent large issue that we've been bringing to the State Board of Human Services is the behavioral health entities, and that's the licensing of providers. We had about 5 hours with the State Board on a first read on our licensing, feedback from our listening sessions around the state, feedback from the Attorney General who has to review our rules. And we had a really good open discussion on that. They've asked us to come back for another first read. So we'll be doing that early in October. Again, all of you are welcome to listen into those meetings, or alternatively, there's a public comment section in every state board meeting on either a general public comment or a public comment on a specific item. I welcome anybody on this advisory council who wants to participate in that to absolutely do it. And Megan, if we don't already get that info out to them, I think that would be helpful to let them know that they can speak to the state board at any time. So on the behavioral health entity licensing, there'll be multiple reads with the state board. We did first read. They asked us to extend first read, so that'll be in October. Our intention is to have the behavioral health entities completed and the rules passed through the state board by the end of the year. So they'll be effective in January. We won't be regulating against them until April because it's going to take people time to get in alignment with it. But I just want to acknowledge it's been a massive heavy lift by our licensing team to get out and do listening sessions all over the state, take the feedback, and present a very voluminous rule package. So if you haven't been involved in that and want to know more, just please put it in the chat and we'll follow up. I have to say, I'm really glad. I know Megan's had an opportunity to meet with many of you and has relayed to me that many of you are open to a restart. And I just want to personally thank you for that. We've had some misstarts, we've had some bumps, we've had some downright mistakes. And the hope is that we can all give each other grace and figure out what needs to be fixed, what needs to be acknowledged, what needs to be done, and then move forward so we can get to the real work of the organization, and the advisory council, which is to advise and give us feedback. And I'm very anxious about that. I see Tom's hand is up. Is that regarding my data or just?
If you don't mind, Michelle, I would like to thank you first for calling out the rules. It's something that I've been intimately involved with and am also quite proud of. Probably what you weren't aware of is that Victoria and I came to this group several months ago and presented the draft rules to the BHAAC Advisory Committee. So they had a chance to get an overview of that draft regulatory package that we did take to the state board last month. But also want to offer that if this group would like to have another presentation about some of the changes that we made after that presentation, and also some of the changes that we've made based, excuse my voice, that we've made based on that first read, or as you put it, our first read. We are also happy to do that as well. The next read is scheduled for October 6th, and what we hope is our final read November 3rd. So forgive my interruption of your commissioner updates, Michelle, but I just wanted to provide a little bit of extra detail. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I did, so I did encourage the staff at the BHA, if they want to add clarity to anything I say, or God help me if I misspeak, please speak up. We want to be really clear with you guys and not give any misinformation. So Renee, did you have a comment right now?
I did. I just have a question. You had said you went on this listening tour to Fort Collins, Grand Junction, Pueblo, I don't know where else. Are you going to go do some rural areas, some rural frontier areas?
Yeah, that's a great question, Renee. I don't know what the governor intends. We were participants in the governor's listening session. So it wasn't one organized by the BHA. He asked his cabinet to travel with him around the state and do listening sessions. Those are the 4 that have been scheduled so far, but I certainly will ask if he has rural ones planned and get back to you on that.
Okay.
I think it's a good suggestion, so thank you.
Sure, thanks.
So going back to what I was talking about is a restart. Part of the restart is bringing closure to the challenges with payments for all of you. I know some of you have opted out of getting compensated for your time on the advisory council. That's fine. Others have not. That is absolutely fine too. I believe at this point that everyone has either has a check in the mail, or if there's some particular reason why it's delayed, has been communicated with an action plan by Angelina. If that is not the case for any of you, please put a note in the chat and we will follow up immediately after this meeting. But I understand that was a real misstep on our part to get those that compensation that we committed to out to you. I apologize. It was a new process for BHA. We didn't realize how complex it would be. There's a lot of rules around getting a check written from the state of Colorado, and I believe we've got it completely fixed now for going forward. And we should have, Angelina's been working really hard to make sure everybody who was willing to be compensated to be able to get their checks. So again, please let us know if that is not the case. I want to talk a little bit about the BHA organization. As you know, I'm the interim commissioner, and we are interviewing for the leadership team at BHA. There are 2 posted positions, both deputy commissioner positions. I think some of you may know that Summer Gathercole is leaving the organization as of Friday, and we are indebted to her leadership. And expertise for 4 years. She's been leading behavioral health reform in Colorado, and we are going to try and replace that with deputy commissioners. One is a deputy commissioner of engagement, which will be our externally facing person, overseeing our legislative actions, our policy, our community engagement, our equity work, our marketing, our PR, all that. So it's a big job of external engagement. And I did 2 information interviews already or not information, first round phone screening interviews for that position already this morning. So that search is fully operating. The other position is the Deputy Commissioner of Systems Reform and Programs. So that's our expert internally on all programs, payment systems, behavioral health reform systems, the programs we work, our work with jails, our work on the 988, the work with BASOs, all that sits in that department. And that position's been posted for about a month, and we're continuing to screen candidates for that. Many of you understand that it takes a very long time to hire in the state of Colorado. We want to make sure we do everything right, that we have a talented, broad, diverse candidate pool, and that we're allowing the candidates to meet with multiple peers, multiple panels of people. That just takes time. So in the interim, we have appointed 2 deputy commissioners to fill those roles until the time as we hire. So that is Tom Miller, who all of you know, on the call today, and Kristen Laura, who is also on the call and has been speaking up. They are acting deputy commissioners right now and have really stepped up to provide some leadership and some vision and direction for BHA, and I'm very grateful to them. The third member of our leadership team is our acting chief administrative officer and CFO, which is Stephen Peng. Stephen's been our CFO for, since the beginning. And Stephen's now going to also be looking at the administrative functions for us. So very excited to have Stephen, Kristen, and Tom round out that leadership team. And if you haven't seen the positions posted, I would highly encourage any of you to pass on referrals for it. They're on our website. We can put it in the chat if you'd like to have them directly. I also had asked for the systems reform and programs if anyone on this committee wanted to be part of that recruiting effort. The interview panel, and 2 of you said you would. We are not yet at the point to call in the panel, so just know we are taking advantage of your graciousness, and we will have you on the interview panels. The engagement one, we're probably a couple weeks off from setting up interview panels on that. But again, I will invite, if somebody on the advisory council wants to join me on those interview panels, I would welcome it. And we'd be happy to have 1 or 2 people join us for that. So that's coming soon. All right, so that's the heavy lifting on our organization. Regarding the commissioner themselves, just to reiterate, the hiring of the behavioral health commissioner is not something the BHA is accountable for or responsible, or it's not our hire. It is a Governor of Colorado hire, and he has retained an executive search consultant who's working with them to recruit and screen applicants. I know they are already doing phone screens with applicants, so that process is alive and well and going forward. At this point, we did pass on. We made the opportunity at the governor's request that if any of you wanted to weigh in on the future commissioner and what kind of commissioner you wanted to see, we got responses from many of you, and thank you. And I can assure you that the governor's office read every one of those, as did the recruiter. So thank you for being part of our process. That is extremely helpful. And again, my invitation is that you be part of the process to help guide me in selecting the 2 deputy commissioners. So thank you for that. So if there's no further questions, I'm going to move on to responding to the comments you put in the letter that we pass on to the legislature. Are there any comments before I go to that? I also want to do a time check, Megan. We have a lot still on the agenda. Would you like me to abbreviate my comments so we can get to everything, or how would you like to proceed?
Thank you, Michelle. I actually pivoting the statutory grievance report presentation that Ryan was going to do. We're going to move that to November.
Okay.
And then that gives you a little bit more time. So then you'll have until 11:30. I do want to prioritize the BASO RFI presentation because that's time sensitive, and I want to make sure everyone gets that information.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Thank you. So I'll keep moving. Feel free to put questions in chat or ask them to the full group. So you guys had put together some well thought through questions for the BHA, and I'm going to do my best to respond to them now. If I'm not able to give you a full satisfactory response so you understand what I'm saying, I'm happy to put this in writing, or we can revisit it next month. You pull that up. All right. All right. So one of your top recommendations was that BHA includes the advisory council as a decision-making body in our structure of the grievance procedure, recovery council, BASO formation, and care coordination. And so I want to just be really clear, and I think Ryan or Tom may have a slide that focuses on this, but the BHA the advisory council was not set up to be a decision-making body. That's in statute. It's an advisory body created for the purpose of making recommendations to the BHA commissioner in order for us jointly to improve behavioral health system for children, youth, and adults in Colorado. In order to be a decision-making body, like the State Board of Human Services, that is a decision-making body, it has to be a type 1 board. And I know this may sound, bureaucratic, but the type of board that is created in statute dictates a lot of the role and the accountabilities and the responsibilities of the board. The legislature put it in not as a type 1, but as an advisory board. Your main role is to review information shared and presented and provide thoughtful input and potential solutions. The actual accountability for creating a coordinated, cohesive, and effective behavioral health system actually sits with the BHA with your advisement. So I'm going to pause because that's a pretty big message. Does anyone have any questions on that? And Ryan, if you want to add to it, because this is a lot of statutory considerations as opposed to my opinion or your opinion. Any questions from anyone on that?
One thing I will add is that there are some statutory directives for BHAAC to weigh in and provide specific collaboration or input into certain initiatives that the BHA is responsible for. One of those being the system-wide grievance system. Really, there is a statutory calling that says, hey, BHAAC, or the Advisory Council created in Part 7, needs to provide that input about the process for addressing individual grievances. So as we develop our work plan to come up with that system-wide grievance system that is due July 1 of 2024, we need to come here and talk through here's what we're planning, here's what we're thinking within that. So there is that the back and forth, so you can really advise us using your all's experiences to say, hey, what would it mean and what would be good for the system based on the experiences that you've all had in the system. So with that, there are specific requirements. There are 4 specific calls related to clear statutory callings of the council, but then that's also, yes, we need to make sure that we are aligning our full system together with the input from this council, especially with the care coordination and the infrastructure that we're building within the care coordination. as well as the BOSSO rollout. Yeah, as well as the subcommittees of the BOSSOs, right? So there's a lot of pieces that need to come together, and we need your help to get there in this system reform. So
Thanks, Ryan. I'm going to keep moving because I've been informed I have 7 minutes because we have to get to the next topic. Another recommendation from you guys was timely execution of BHA grants and contracts to the community, including communication on delays, awards, etc. And I will tell you, we are absolutely committed to be open and transparent regarding funding opportunities. We're open to feedback on the BHA's funding opportunity web pages and how we can best inform communities throughout Colorado on funding opportunities could be a very positive collaboration. I definitely would welcome you guys to come in and advise us on how we can do this better. This was very new, and we had a lot of grants and contracts to get out to the community with ARPA funds, and would be very open to working together on that. Another comment was they want to be co-creating alongside the that you want to be co-creating alongside the BHA on action items, not merely showing up for a vote. We are asking for monthly study sessions prior to meetings to cover the content of the upcoming meeting. And I think Ryan and Megan covered this earlier in the meeting, that we now will send out information for our meetings at least a week prior. It's not fair, and that was a misstep on our part, to expect you to come to a meeting, hear data straight, for the first time and give comment. So going forward, we'll definitely make sure you have that information in advance. If there's a certain way you want to see it or hear it, we're very open to that feedback on how we best do that. But anyway, I hope that you'll see some of the changes we put in place will correct some of that. You also asked for a yearly meeting with the chairman of Health and Human Services to review your annual report. And that report will be submitted to the legislature on October 1st. Whether or not they'll be interested in having a meeting is up to the legislature. So that's not something I can decide. That would be something the legislature decides. If you would like us to request that, I am absolutely happy to pass that on your behalf. So the next one was inclusion in the replacement of advisory council members according to our bylaws. And as we talked earlier, Megan covered it really well. As we review the bylaws, we are looking into your recommendations on that. Happy to, as I said, include you in that process. Absolutely. We don't know what the parameters are about that till we get the legal review back from the attorneys general. So we're happy to revisit that one at the next meeting. Next one was inclusion in the replacement hiring interview committee of the BHA commissioner. Nothing about us without us. And again, as I mentioned earlier, many of you were so generous with your time to offer input that did go directly to the governor regarding the new Behavioral Health Administrative Commissioner. It's a cabinet level position. And so we are not doing the appointment as a BHA. That is a governor appointment. So as I've said, if you want to offer your individual services or as a group to the governor, you are more than welcome to do that. But I am not a decision maker on the Behavioral Health Commissioner. That is solely a governor appointment. 3 minutes left. You want to be involved with statutory changes and updates before any changes occur. We also request the proposed and approved changes to be given to us in writing. And that is not we're in the executive branch, BHA. That is a General Assembly responsibility. So the elected legislators in Colorado sit within the legislative branch, and they have the duty to pass laws. We can make recommendations, we can talk to them, but at the end of the day, the role of the BHA is to implement the laws, not pass the laws. So we're happy to provide an overview around what happens during each legislative session when bills get introduced, but changing laws is an executive function, or excuse me, a legislative function. Almost done. Twice a year updates on the budgetary spending regarding monies being sent to BHAACs and community. And that's our next topic. The BHAAC RFI is currently posted, and we're going to spend a good half an hour talking about those. And they will be established in July 2025. BHA makes budgetary adjustments to support monthly meetings. Yes, we do not have the capacity to support monthly meetings. As you can pick up, there's a lot of time that goes into these meetings for us and a lot of the team on them. And we'll continue with the cadence that we originally put together. We are offering a lot more opportunities for you to learn and be briefed on things in advance, whether it's being invited to town halls or other meetings or specific feedback sessions with you on certain things, but we're not in a staffing situation to be able to expand that. The last question is regarding our EDI work and training person, and a request that you guys facilitate training on that. And I want to remind you, we presented our inaugural Equity Action Plan during the July meeting, and it does include training for BHA leadership as well as all the BHA staff. We will continue to annually update our equity plan to the governor's office, to the Department of Personnel Administration, and back to you. I will also say we have, with the resignation of Angelina, we have decided to take a pause and do an environmental scan, which means an outside person comes in from DPA, the head of equity for the state of Colorado, is going to come in and do an assessment of where BHA is on our equity actions. Make sure to talk to communities. She will be engaging you at that point to get a handle on where we need to focus more resources on our equity planning. And that'll be happening over the next month or two. So we will be engaging you in, taking a pause and just really having an honest assessment on where we are in equity. And the person leading that, again, is the equity officer for Colorado, and she is very supportive of including you guys in that scan. So I'm going to pause. Seth, who has their hands up? Megan first. And I know I'm at time, so I may have to respond to the questions in chat while we go to the next topic.
It looks like Seth's hand is up, and I think that's the only one I see. And then, yes, want to be mindful of time so we can get moving on to that.
I just want to focus, since this is your briefing time, that we all have talked about starting over and starting fresh, and there was some things that were supposedly happening that the rest of the council wasn't aware of, as far as meetings one-on-one or meetings with the former co-chair or anything like that. I think if you could at least offer an apology to the group if there's any of those accusations that are correct, so that we can actually move on and have some accountability to let us know that those things won't happen again.
Seth, I'm not familiar with the charges you're making. So the charges. So if someone wants to share those with me, I'm willing to address them. But I will say I absolutely am available and have been available to meet one-on-one with any member of this advisory council.
Correct. Meeting one-on-one with Bob for lunches and for drinks, and
I have never had lunch or drink with Bob, but I have had conversations with him, just like I have with other advisory. But no, we have not lunched or drank.
Okay. and just not including the former co-chair in any of the like planning or itemizing or like doing anything to create the co-chair inclusion and being maybe discriminated against based on race, ethnicity, or any other form of discrimination.
Wow, that's a big charge. That's a big charge. I don't even know how to respond to that because I don't know what you're referring to. So maybe, well, I don't know how to address it since we have to go on to the next topic. Maybe we can talk about that at the next meeting. Would that be satisfactory?
I think that would be appropriate, and I think we could show you the letter that I'm talking about at that time if it's appropriate.
Yeah, if you would mind sending it over to me in the between now and then. But yes, let's put that as a topic for the next meeting. Thank you for bringing that up.
Okay, and then I apologize if there's more questions, please feel free to reach out to Interim Commissioner Barnes as well as to myself. We're happy to continue to ask those questions, but we do want to jump into the BASO RFI. This is really important information I want you all to hear, and I'm really trying to be mindful of time here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kayla Martin, she, her pronouns. I am the BHA Contracts and Procurement Manager, and I've been on the contracts team with OVH and then the BHA for about 7 years. So I have a couple familiar faces here, but so we are kicking off our development of the Behavioral Health Administrative Service organizations because we are very low on time. I do want to, I sort of have heard and picked up that I think if I have slides in here about what the BASOs are meant to do and the structures are meant to replace, I'll probably breeze through those. I really want to focus on what our stakeholdering efforts have been up to this point and what we are doing right now with the RFI. So these are the steps that we'll be going through, or that we have already started and are going through to get to July 1st, 2025, the exciting day when the BASOs launch. So this, we started with the BASO implementation plan from in 2022 and 2023. One of our partners, HMA, they helped us do some stakeholdering to get a general sort of temperature reading on the BASO environment and what our priorities should be. And so what we are doing, that raised a lot of really excellent questions, and we had that give us a lot to chew on, and we were able to determine what we know our priorities and outcomes for the BASO system are. We have some decisions that we are very solidified on, or I should say, we are ready to put those into our BASO contract. But there are a lot of places where we want more information. We want more engagement on some of the feedback that we were getting in our stakeholdering. And so that is what the request of information is for. So request of information is a release of questions that we're putting out to the community. And these are really open to anyone who is a stakeholder in the behavioral health space. So we are expecting to get responses from providers, from maybe from RAISE, maybe from other state agencies, but we also would really value a response from groups like this and other behavioral health stakeholder groups. And so we'll take a look at that in more depth in later slides. After we collect our RFI responses, we are going to have all the information we need to be able to write our full request for proposals for the organizations that will become the BASOs. So the reason why we couldn't just release an RFP today is we still, we have to basically put together the BASO contract, write that and say, put it out into the community to say, this is a contract you're bidding on, who is interested and what is your plan to execute these services. So to be able to develop that full statement of work and other exhibits, that's where the RFI information is going to be really critical. This development of the RFP will be, it's starting right now, and it will be taking place through the spring. And then we, in the spring is when we're going to release the RFP, and that is the formal putting the services out to bid and eliciting responses. So from spring through summer, we're going to leave this RFP open for a good chunk of time to make sure people have time to give a really thoughtful response. And then we will be identifying our BASO vendors in the fall. And so there's going to be a selection committee formed to evaluate the proposals we get for the BASOs. And then they will determine that they will pick the vendors, recommend them to the BHA, and then we will begin contract negotiations. And we want to execute our contracts by January 1st, 2025, which gives them a 6-month ramp-up period to build out their network because it is July 1st, 2025, and we need to be ready to go delivering services. And yeah, that would be the BASO launch is on July 1st, 2025. So I think I'm really excited this is my first time at BHAAC and meeting all you excellent people. I'm really excited to partner with this group, and this is sort of our introduction of in these implementation steps where will we be having interactions or opportunities for feedback and co-creation here. Can you go to the next slide, please? I just talked through a lot of this just verbally, but if you guys get the slides, this will be a nice sort of reminder that we did stakeholdering in 2022 and 23, and this RFI is our co-creation going to the next step and getting some more specific feedback on some of these issues. Yeah, and we covered, so yes, intended respondents to the RFI is this group would be an excellent, either individually or if you want to band together to present answers. While of course we are, this group will have a lot of interaction on the BASO topic, I'm really encouraging everyone to respond to the RFI so that it is, your answers are sort of included in our aggregation of all the feedback, and that things aren't sort of lost or one-off, that we're really following our process to make sure that everything is collected and in one place and considered equally. So the format of the RFI, and we have a slide in here of how you can access it and find it. I will, so the RFI has a bunch of sections of different tasks or functions that the BASOs will do. So care coordination, network development, coordination with Medicaid, the different kinds of services, network adequacy, and we ask specific questions. So I think they're altogether around 50 questions. Nobody has to answer all 50. Really, I think we would want to encourage people to take a look, and the ones that you are really called to or really have something you want to share, send us a response on those. You are not expected to, like, no one is expected to fill out every single question unless you really have a lot to say on every single question. So, and then RFI responses are not public until the BASO RFP concludes. So the request for information is going to wrap up on October 13th of so next month. Then we will take those answers and it'll be sort of BHA eyes only until the RFP concludes, which means that we won't broadcast. This is exactly what Megan Shelton thought about this RFI response. However, we are empowered to go and talk to Megan Shelton about her RFI response to say, like, we really think this is an intriguing idea. We'd like to meet more and discuss. And so we can have those connections with you, but the information of, like, and while we hope that you will see your responses and your ideas carry forward into the RFP and into the contract, what will stay private is sort of where those ideas were coming from. I won't be broadcasting that to the hills. These do eventually become public documents after the bid for the BASOs is totally finished and those contracts are executed. Then everything sort of becomes public when those contracts are executed. But for this development process, it's just collaborative with the BHA. So these are instructions for how to find and respond to the RFI. A thing I really regret and have been running up all of the flagpoles I can is that there's no way for us to directly link someone to our specific RFI in the system where our procurements are posted, which is called VSS, or vendor self-service. It's just the system that we need to use. But when you go to this website, there are links on the left side of the screen for either register or public access. I've been in my role for 7 years and I've never made an account. Public access is fully functional. So if you click public access and search for behavioral health administrative service organizations, with no quotation marks because it's not a smart search, because again, my favorite system, it will bring up our RFI. And if you look at the detail view, you'll be able to see all the documents associated with it. So to stay, we will be accepting responses on this through October 13th. And it's essentially just putting together a Word document saying which question number are you answering and then going from there. So once the RFI is concluded, really from now until launch day, to stay updated on the BOSSOs, if you visit this URL in the slides here, then that is where we're putting any and all updates we have. So right now you'll see, if you go to that page today, you'll see instructions of how to get to the RFI and the timeline that we are anticipating for leading up to launch. I think that might be my last slide. Is that correct? Cool. Yeah. So both respond to the RFI if you can, and share it with your networks. We want to hear from everybody at this phase. Do you have any questions? I haven't looked at the chat.
Kayla, I just want to make sure if folks need help accessing it, because VSS is, as you said, not very friendly, who should they reach out to? Maybe we can put an email in the chat for that.
Yes, it would be Raven Lopez. So I will stick her. While so the RFI things are a little more open, looser. There's no money on the table. There's no contracts coming out of this, but we do treat them as closely as possible to a normal procurement, like an RFP or a documented quote. And so in those circumstances, we have a single point of contact at CDHS, who's Raven Lopez. She's an amazing partner. She's worked with us for several years. And so when it becomes RFP time, we have to say, like, this goes to Raven, and that like, she is the only person who is allowed to have external communication. For this one, it's a little more open. For the RFI, we can interact a little more, but I just like keeping that process the same as much as possible. So that's why Raven would be the best person to help with VSS issues. I see Karen's hand up.
Hold the audio now.
Do you know if the RFI is accessible for the blind, what format it is in?
It is in a PDF, and I do believe we have accessibility checks run on them, but if there are any issues with that, then I would absolutely want to know. And I can also follow up with Raven to find out for sure if those are fully screen reader compatible.
Okay.
I believe they are. Any other questions? Excellent. Well, I think that I'm really excited to meet this group, and I know we'll be working together a lot in the future. And so please consider me an open door. And as we work on this this BOSSO material, then I am just really excited of what we can co-create here.
Thank you, Kayla. Are we ready to move on to public comment?
I believe we are. We do have 3 minutes. If there was another question about the information presented today, we may have time to answer another question or two prior to moving on to public comment at 11:50. Okay, I'm not seeing any additional questions on the information presented today. Dr. Oberly, you are welcome to move us into public comment if you'd like to.
Okay, let's please move into public comment. If you have any public comments, now is the time.
Just wanted to add a quick note. Raquel noted the public chat was taken off. That is true, and people need to use the Q&A function or feature to add in questions or comments.
Thank you, Kristen. And I also wanted to note that I will be sending out some resources to all BHAC members. I acknowledge that the chat that was happening during the meeting earlier today can be traumatizing, very traumatizing information in there, and very triggering for folks. And so I will be including in an email when I send out the email with a letter of commitment. I will include some resources for you all as well. Want to ensure that everyone has time to take care and self-reflect. And as always, you can reach out to me with any questions or concerns.
Megan, the fourth question is from Emily about how do I give a public comment? And it seems like it's where she typed her question about how to give a public comment. Is that correct?
Yes. Public comments can be put in the Q&A. So if you have a comment, you can put it in the Q&A.
Megan, there's a comment on there that says the question and answer function was not alluded to earlier. I want to acknowledge that no one was made aware that the chat was closed earlier either.
Are we able to promote people that are public attendees to speak in the meeting? Like technically in Zoom, are we able to do that?
I was just chatting to find out.
Yeah, I think just as full transparency, what you're hearing is silence as we try to figure out in the back end how to make Zoom work. So long as we know technically how to do this, I think we should be promoting people who indicate within the Q&A that they would like to make a public comment to be able to speak in this forum. So we're trying to sort out the mechanics of that in this moment. Feel free to add in the Q&A if you'd like to speak. That way we know who to promote and in what order.
Thank you for clarifying, Kristen.
And similar, so Raquel also asked, can we adjust the setting back in Zoom to make the chat feature also available again to all members of the public? If we're able, I'm going to pick on Sarah Lucas because I think she has the power to do that in this last 10 minutes. Please do go ahead and make that adjustment as well. As a reminder, we have this last 10 minutes set aside for public comments. So that is the reason why we disabled that earlier, because it really needed to be limited to the participating members of the BHAAC Council for this first 2 hours and 50 minutes of the meeting forum.
So Kristen, are we still waiting to figure out how making verbal comments is going to be done?
I think
Yes.
so.
We're
Yes.
trying to do it right now.
Okay. We're working on it.
Awesome. So it now looks like chat is open to everyone. If you're able also to raise hands, I don't know if that's going to help us on the administrative side be able to more like fast or efficiently promote people to be able to speak. Because we want you to be able to.
So it looks like Emily, that you can hopefully access the chat now, if that's any help while we wait to resolve the verbal comment issue.
I see Emily has appeared, I think. Are you able to speak, Emily?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
And may I go ahead and give public comment?
Yes.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all. I am using a different than usual microphone, so do let me know at any time if my voice is not coming through clearly. I want to just first let you know that I am a small business owner. I work with children and vulnerable adults in our community. I also attend graduate education courses, and I teach in multiple settings. I have worked with advisory committees and also committees with decision-making power across the political spectrum. I have been part of legislation, bipartisan legislation to change Colorado law, as well as been part of the process to help draft rules following the law. So I'm pretty experienced in how different things work. I've also buried the dead. The people who have died related to our mental health care system's failings. Colorado's mental health care system is broken and failing many Coloradoans. I'm sure all of you already know that. I don't need to repeat the statistics to you. But I want to tell you just two stories that are really important that I don't want you to forget. And if my experience makes you uncomfortable, imagine how me and my family and others impacted by it directly on the ground have been impacted and the trauma on us. First, I want to tell you about Roger. Roger was a high school teacher. He reached out to the BHA funded and regulated and monitored community mental health center. He told people he planned to die. He planned to take his life. He reached out and he told them of his plans, and he told them of the date and time more than 24 hours later that he planned to die. The community mental health center said, "Oh, we hope you don't do that." And that's all they did. They did not send a welfare check. They did not do anything to help him get mental health care. His school did not have him arrive the next day, and they sent out police, and they found his body. He had taken the axe to die about 10 minutes before they arrived, right on time, right at the time he said he would. And I sat with his children as they wept, missing their daddy. I've lost two family members that I cannot even talk about while they waited for mental health care of treatable mental health conditions. One died of an addiction. He got sober, but then he relapsed and is no longer with us. And the other I can't even talk about yet. I myself accessed the community mental health center in my local area, and since then, 7 others. And I've experienced a pattern of ADA violations, of staff mocking people with disabilities. I watched one staff member follow behind somebody using a cane because they were visually impaired, mocking the way they were using their cane. I have watched things be said towards people with disabilities that have horrified me. And as a person with a disability myself, I have experienced egregious disregard for consent. And I've watched people with and without disabilities have their consent severely, unlawfully violated. And in fact, we have a problem right now in Colorado that multiple community mental health centers have a situation where their staff, or now recently former staff, are in various legal proceedings because they have been accused, very credibly so, of raping or sexually assaulting Coloradoans that have come in and vulnerably asked for help. That is happening right now in Colorado. And after I experienced the utter lack of regard for consent in a way that was so bad that a crime was committed against me, I won't go into what specific crime, but it was horrifying and traumatic and caused serious damage to my life, I reached out to BHA. I reached out to BHA for help. I said, wait, we have a problem on the ground, help. And Michelle Barnes, acting interim commissioner Michelle Barnes, said, let's have a meeting. Great, let's have a meeting. And I was assured by Michelle Barnes and her staff in writing that only people I consented to would be at the meeting. As I said, I'm very concerned that my consent is regarded really well in order to have this meeting. So I was promised that only people I consented to would be at that meeting. Well, then sure enough, the Google Meeting link was sent out to hold the meeting, and the perpetrator of the crime was invited to the meeting. And I said, hold up. I let Michelle Barnes and her staff know, hold up, we have a problem. You invited the perpetrator to come. I do not consent to the perpetrator being there. You already know that. You already have it in writing. You have numerous notices. I will not do a meeting with the perpetrator. That's not appropriate. I've been traumatized by this person. I'm not going to have a meeting with them. That is what has been advised for me clinically and otherwise. So what did Michelle Barnes do? Did she show abundant regard for my lack of consent to meet with the perpetrator? No. The meeting link was reset, and you would think, oh, okay, they reset it, so they won't send it to the perpetrator. No, her staff went out of their way, per Michelle Barnes' direction, to invite the perpetrator a second time. I was like, whoa, hold up, we can't have this meeting if the perpetrator is there. I don't consent. And in fact, I cited the statutes that require BHA to not hold this type of meeting where my perpetrator is forced upon me in a meeting without my consent. And again, we have an on-the-ground problem with rape culture occurring so badly. People are getting fired and landing in court for allegations, serious, credible allegations, for literally raping and sexually assaulting clients. And in that culture and in that context and in that problem happening, we now have Michelle saying she's going to solve the problem by holding a meeting, forcing a perpetrator on me without my consent unlawfully. I show up for the meeting, hoping that maybe somebody listened, maybe somebody heard me, maybe somebody now will show regard for my lack of consent. This perpetrator is not treating me. They have never treated me, and they will never provide treatment for me. I don't allow people to commit crimes against me. But sure enough, the perpetrator was there in the meeting. And Michelle wanted to do a lovely introduction and then dive deep to discussing my life in front of the perpetrator and with the perpetrator. I said, well, we can't have this meeting. The perpetrator's here. So what do you think Michelle Barnes and BHA did? Did they say, oh, we made a mistake. Sorry, perpetrator, saying the perpetrator's name, of course. You have to leave. We need to discuss with Emily what we do from here. No, no. Michelle encouraged, with no consent of me, that the perpetrator stay. The meeting was, at best, highly traumatic. It was re-traumatizing. It showed no regard for what us trauma victims in Colorado go through. It was beyond triggering. The triggers that you may have experienced today, imagine being forced to meet with a perpetrator of a crime against you without your consent by the commissioner of the Behavioral Health Administration. I am very concerned about the lack of regard for consent that is being demonstrated by BHA itself in a situation where on the ground we have Coloradoans experiencing sexual assault at our community mental health centers. It is time for the system to change. It is time for BHA to reform itself and not simply ask for, oops, we made a mistake. We're willing to hold another meeting again. We know that the first one was traumatic. But to say, you know what? We are going to show an abundant regard for consent and we're going to hold ourselves accountable to it. We not only apologize to you, we apologize to your family. My family was there in the meeting. They were horrified. And we are going to hold ourselves accountable to showing abundant regard and requiring our community mental health centers take action to reduce and eliminate the abundant rape culture that exists from the top down. And it is time to not simply say, I'm sorry for asking for accountability for BHA. No, to whoever said that, stop asking for sorry. Our government is supposed to be accountable to us. Whether we are an advisory committee member, a taxpayer, or a trauma survivor trying to get help. Our government needs to regard our words with respect and needs to honor that the consent of Coloradoans matters. And that if Michelle Barnes wants to have another meeting with me, she needs to show abundant regard for consent. BHA needs to show abundant regard for consent because right now there are a lot of people facing a lot of pain because not even the commissioner could respect consent and respect the trauma it is to have a perpetrator forced on someone with no consent. Thank you.
Ms. Blake, thank you for your comments. I do hope that the proper authorities and investigations that are necessary to help prevent any of this happening again have been notified. And my heart goes out to you and your family.
Thank you. I hope that there will be change too. I appreciate your time, and thank you for those of you who are volunteers, and thank you for those who are not, but invest your good intentions in helping reform the system.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, Emily. We will look into this. We are dedicated to reforming the system and improving the behavioral health system for all people of Colorado. And I'm sorry for everything that you have experienced. Thank you for sharing with us. And at this time, we do need to close public comment as the meeting has come to an end.
Just to confirm real quick, Megan, or share for the recording, I do not see at this time any other individuals who've raised their hand or requested via the Q&A to make a public comment.
Thank you, Kristen. I noted that as well, but thank you for pointing that out.
Well, I'd like to thank everyone who attended this meeting, and I look forward to seeing you all again in November on the 16th from 9 to noon.
Thank you all.